This is a Shabbos Nun Aleph. We're talking about whether a person is captured, doesn't know what day of the week it is. So, what day should he keep on Shabbos? The rest of the daf, we're going to talk about whether or not a person has an awareness and a lapse of awareness, and does melachas, whether or not it's considered one, whether it's not considered many chayav chatas. We're going to go through that. The first Gemara is going to compare regarding the man who doesn't know what day is Shabbos, because he's on a desert island, doesn't know. He compares it to a person who married someone and he doesn't know who that woman is. And now when he goes around the world, any woman could be his sister-in-law, which is obviously usher to him, or mother-in-law, which is usher to him, or daughter-in-law, which is usher to him. It could be a karev to this woman who he married, which is usher to him. So the Gemara says, a person makes a kedushin to a woman in the world, and he doesn't know who she is. Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha Espalgo bar Yechanan bar Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish disagree. Rabbi Yechanan Amar Chayshesh l'chol nashim. Rabbi Yechanan says you have a chayshesh for all women in the world, therefore you can't marry anybody. Rabbi Lakish Amar ein chayshesh l'chol nashim. You don't have a chayshesh because the basar raiv is that it's not going to be related. So since most likely it's not going to be related, you don't have to start worrying about it. Every single woman's going to be related to them. Obviously, with a little bit of questioning, you could say, by the way, did you ever related, or are you related to a woman who's here in this spot, this time, who might be married to a man she doesn't know? You do a little investigation, but even without the investigation, chances are in the world there are so many women, it's not going to be a karev to the woman who you are mekadesh to. The woman either mekadesh to the woman who you married, so you have to worry. And then there's another remedy. So Taman Yeshua Takana, but there is a remedy. Yakolhu Lisa Goyeris. You could marry a convert. Yakolhu Lisa Mushkeres. You could marry a freed woman of a maidservant. So Hachamayislach, but with the worker, what's he do? In other words, the person who married a woman doesn't know who she is and where she is in the world. He can marry Geras, definitely not related to her, because Geras not related to anybody, or a freed maidservant, same thing. Whereas the person who is stuck in captivity and does not know what day it is, or he's on a desert island, doesn't know what day it is, so then what is he going to do? He has to eat. He has to work. He has to eat. He can't just 6-7 days a week keep Shabbos. Tama and Amrina. So the Babylonians over there above said, he has to be chayshish for all days. He only works enough to be kiyum nefesh. So it seems like that he could actually work 7 days a week, or I don't know, maybe it is a calculation that he works 6 days and keeps 7 days Shabbos, but the word days that he works, he has to only do enough for him to sustain himself. Or maybe it's talking about that 7 days a week he does enough to sustain himself because it's Sakan Safashis, and Sakan Safashis obviously is the Shabbos, so maybe that's what it's talking about. But the Yerushalmi is very, very clear that you one of two ways. Either you count 6 days and the 7-day Shabbos, or you take Shabbos and then the next 6 days. There's a minority opinion that says you do 6-day Shabbos, 5-day Shabbos, 4-day Shabbos, that calculation. And that is a hard one, but because that's not keeping Shabbos. You're not going to be in a normal cycle then. Then what do you do after those 2 weeks? You may have hit on a Shabbos, but you can't live your whole life having Shabbos several times a week. Now we go back to a lapse of awareness and whether or not you're chayiv one chatas or multiple chayiv chatas. Taman Tanina, the Mishnah taught elsewhere. Rabbi Kiva says, "Shalti is Rabbi Lezer. Ask Rabbi Lezer. Oisa malacha is harbe b'Shabbos harbe. If you do many malachos and many Shabbos, many malacha achas, is it one category of malacha? Belam echad, and it was one lapse of awareness. Mahu, what's the din? Chayev achas al kulon, or you chayev one for all of them, or achas al kol achas v'achas. You one on each and every single one of them." Rabbi Lezer said to me, Rabbi Kiva was reporting, chayev al kol achas v'achas. Mikam v'chaymer, learn from Mikam v'chaymer. Uma im hanida, just like in the halachas of nida, shein boy toitzi harbe v'chatas harbe. There's not a lot of ways to be chayev chatas. It's basically one. You can have the nida, bada bing, it's chatas or kares. So therefore, in that situation, it's one. So chayev akol achas v'achas. You're clearly chayev, and every single time a person is with a nida, So Shabbos sheyesh ba toitzias harbe v'chatos harbe. Shabbos, where there's so many ways of getting chatos, and there's so many ways of violating this, and so therefore ein din shein chai v'chol achas yacha. Shouldn't you for sure be liable for every single chatos? Akiva was not impressed with this Kalvachimer. Amarti Lai said to him, Lai, im Amarti Benida. Because you could say that's regarding Nida Sheish Bashte Azaris. There are two Azaris. You have to warn her, you got to warn him. Shumuzal Nida, Vanida Muzaralav. Right? He's warned for her, and she's warned for him. Time Shabbos, Shein by Elazar Achas. But Shabbos is, you don't warn Shabbos to the guy, you only warn the guy for Shabbos. You give an Azar to the guy for Shabbos. You don't have the guy, have Shabbos reward for him. What's interesting about the Kal V'chomer and this logic, though, is that elsewhere in the Bavli it says that we don't make chayev dina nefashos based on a Kal V'chomer. So this is not necessarily dina nefashos. This is a chatos. This is kares. So therefore, it's not necessarily dina nefashos. So we can learn out of Kal V'chomer possibly. Anyway, Rabbi Akiva was not buying it because it's different. So therefore, it's different. You can't make a Kal V'chomer or something has different standards. So Amarli, Rabbi Elazar said back to Rabbi Akiva, Haba al katana shichiach. So it must be when it's talking about the minor. Clearly, it's usher to have with a minor, whether she's an ida, whether she's not an ida. She's not the age of consent, and therefore it's usher. Anything you do with a minor is considered completely usher. You do not have to warn her because she's not the age of consent. So therefore, she does not have any averus. You or the person doing it is the one that's really forcing her, because not the age of consent. So therefore, the Azara only goes on, obviously, the adult. Shein ba and El Azara Achas. There's only one Azara. And he's chayv in every single one of them. And not just the Nida, right? It's also because he's forcing her. So Amarti Lai. So I said Rabbi Elazar Lai. Amarti Akatanes, because regarding Akatanes, Shafa Pi Shein Behem Akshav, because that's only now. Yesh Behem Lachasman. After a time, they're going to be adults, and therefore there's going to be a situation. Time of Shabbos, Shein Behem Akshav V'Lo Shabbos never has to be warned. Not now, not after a lot of times. Shabbos will never be mature. Shabbos will never be an adult. Shabbos will never have to be warned about a person. A person only warns about Shabbos, so it's different. So he does not buy the Kal V'chomer. The Kal V'chomer cannot be done when Shabbos and this situation is different. Amar Li, so Rabbi Elazar said to me, okay, 1 second. Haba ala behema yechiach. So it's like, who does a behema? Behema is never consent. A behema can never consent, whether it's young or old or any part. And just like Shabbos can never consent to be violated. So Amarti Lai, so I said Rabbi Elazar, HaBehem Shabbos. So Behem is like Shabbos. Here we go. No, Behem like Shabbos, and Yechai B'Chalachas Yachas. Maybe I'm going to think how the Kal V'chomer works, and you can be Chayiv on Kol Achas V'Yachas. Clearly, we're not trying to compare Shabbos at all to cohabiting with a Nida or with a Behema or with a Ketana. The point is whether or not you're doing something, you're violating something without the thing's consent, and clearly Shabbos is being violated without its consent. That's the total amount of the comparison. That it's bringing the Gemara, not anything further. Rabbi Zeir, Rabbi Shem, Rabbi Chizda, Rabbi Ila, B'Shem, Rabbi Shimon, Ben Lakish, Terin Amun. So now we can explain Rabbi Akiva's inquiry. Bizdain Shabbos Mushkagos Malacha Shalom. Rabbi Akiva asked Rabbi Elazar regarding Zadain, deliberateness regarding Shabbos, and Shkagos, inadvertentness regarding the Malachas. So Bidah Taninan Malachas Harbe. According to the explanation, the Mishnah, that many malachos, loy al hashabasais hum chayavus, not whether the person is liable for the multiple Shabboses, but for the multiple malachos. Rabbi Ba B'Shem Rav Chizdamar, he learns this way. B'Shkaga Shabbos was on the malacha shaloi. Rabbi Akiva asked Rabbi Elazar regarding the shkagas, the inadvertent ones, regarding Shabbos, deliberateness regarding the malachos. So, B'dat Hanina on Shabbos Harbe. According to this explanation, the Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Akiva inquired about a case where a person performed malachos on many Shabbos, since that was the point of his inquiry, his question to Rabbi Elazar. Loy al hamalachos mischayevus. So at that point, whether or not the person incurs many liability for many malachos. So whether he's talking about whether the shkagas and zodais, whether it was he knew Shabbos but he didn't know malachas, he knew malachas and no Shabbos. So what was the lapse of awareness? Lapse of awareness regarding the malachas, lapse of awareness regarding the Shabbosos. So ha Rav Zeira b'shem Rav Chizda, Rabbi Eliah b'shem Rav Shimon ben Lakish Treihain Amrinan. So behold, Rabbi Zeira in the name of Rav Chizda, Rabbi Eliah in the name of Rav Shimon Lakish, both say like this. Bizdain Shabbos regarding Malacha Shalai. Rabbi Akiva asked regarding he deliberately did it on Shabbos, but he was a shaygig regarding the malachas. He knew Shabbos, he didn't know malachas. So Heidi lay, Heidi lay. In the end, Rabbi Akiva did he concede to Rabbi Elazar or not? At the end of this whole thing, he said he believed about the Behemoth and of the Kavachaimer. Did he believe the Kavachaimer? Then at the end, he said that they're comparable. Did he believe the Kavachaimer? So, Amar Rab Zeira, Kumi Rav Yaso, Rab Zeira said before Rav Yaso, Masnisan Amar, the following Brisa tell us that Rabbi Akiva did not concede to Rabbi Elazar. The Tani, for certain Brisa, Yodani, Shehi Shabbos, Yodani, Shehi Malacha. If I know that today is Shabbos, and I know I'm doing Malacha, Avol, Eino Yodea, Im Malacha, He Zoy Shechayvin Alekaris, but I don't know that this work is Chayv Karsos. I know I'm doing it. I know I'm writing. I know that I'm writing, and I know that it's Shabbos. I just don't know that writing is also on Shabbos. I don't know about that. So, im me'inyan avos malachos asa. So, if it's regarding avos malachos, chayv kol malacha malacha. You chayv on every single one. Im me'inyan malacha achar asar. If he performed one malacha, that's all one malacha, different types of writings. Let's say all types of writings, so one type of malacha. Chayiv akola all of the elam. He's chayiv at every lapse of awareness. If they shaheda almost harba, if you have many lapses of awareness, aval im haya helam echad. But if it was one lapse of awareness, only chayiv al achas, only chayiv only one. Hada amra the law hadulay. This tells Rabbi Akiva did not consider Rabbi Elazar. He says if it's one helam achas, one malacha, and that's it. One chatos, and that's it. Ha Rabbi Ba b'shem Rav Chizda Amar. Rabbi Ba b'shem Rav Chizda says, "B'shlag Shab Zana Malacha Shalai." Rabbi Akiva asked Rabbi Elazar regarding it was shayging regarding Shabbos, but it was zadain regarding the malachos. Haydulay or haydulay? Did he concede or not concede? So min ma the Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabu b'shem Rabbi Yasi Rabbi Chanina. Right? That inquiry comes out that Shmuel said in the name of Ravu in the name of Rabbi Chanina, Kal Hada Hilchos Rabbi Elazar. This entire ruling goes according to Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Rabbanan. But according to Rabbanan, En Chayiv Alachas, only Chayiv one. Hada Amra, the law Haidu Haidu. This tells us Rabbi Akiva did not concede Rabbi Elazar because he could have held like the Rabbanan and therefore not concede Rabbi Elazar. Ha Rab Zeira b'shem Rav Chizda Rabbi Eli b'shem Rav Shimon ben Lakish Sharein Abrim. Well, Rab Zeira said the name of Rav Chizda and Rav Elazar said the name of Shimon ben Lakish. Both are like this. Bizadain, when the purposeful one was done, Shabbos Shagig Malacha Shaloi, but the Malacha was a Shagig Habishgag Shabbos done a Malacha. This in the verse regarding Shabbos, and the deliberate one was regarding the Malachas. After Rabbi Elazar, Yoidei Rabbi Akiva she'ein chayv alachas. So then in that case, Rabbi Elazar will agree to Rabbi Akiva. There's only one. So when you have that he knows that it's Shabbos, he just doesn't know about the malacha, that's when you have the Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar. The inquiry. However, when he does not know it's Shabbos, but he does know it's malacha, that's when Rabbi Elazar would say it's only one chatas. These have Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva would challenge Rabbi Elazar. Hare mezid b'Shabbos shogeg b'Shabbos. Consider if he was deliberate regarding the malachas and he was shogeg regarding Shabbos. Hare yesh ba toisis harbe v'chatos harbe. That there should be many avenues and many chatos liabilities. The at moidili and yemoid to me she'eni chayiv alachas. Yemoid to only achas. Min ma the law massive law from you to challenge you. Ha'amar di hadar. In this case, in that case, in reverse, and therefore he doesn't buy the Kal V'Chaimer. At the end of the day, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar have the machlokes. Ha Rabbi Ba b'shem Rabbi Chizda Amar. Rabbi Ba b'shem Rabbi Chizda. If it was shogeg regarding Shabbos, but it was amazed on purpose regarding the malachos, and then it was amazing regarding Shabbos, but it was inadvertent regarding the malachos. Then after Mekiva Yoy Rabbi Lezer, maybe Rabbi Kiva would want to Rabbi Lezer. Shu Chai V'Kalachas Yachas, maybe Chai Yachas. Maybe that's how we should hold. We're going to see next daf whether that holds up.